Hey everyone, this is George with The Art of Water, and I just wanted to talk to you today about this particular setup here. I set this up about 10 weeks ago. It cycled about 6 weeks ago, and you know, we started planting obviously from the moment that we started this tank, and we've maybe switched a few things around here and there as far as hardscape. But started out with just a beautiful piece of spider wood here that really was such an easy centerpiece for this tank, and I thought it was just so easy to work around it. We also have some sandstone from Utah in here that buffers the water a little bit, makes it a little bit softer. But I have to be honest with you, when I set up my C02, which is a fluval 45G system, when I set that up in here, I did find that we did have a spike in acidity in the water created by the CO2, and we just dialed back the CO2 a little bit, and it took us a little while to get a good balance before we added any livestock. But once we found the parameters on that, everything just seemed to go very well. What I'm doing right now is, if you can see, this fluval system here has been upgraded. They had a system that was the 45G and the 20G that were okay, but there was some complaints about the gauge on there and the dial on the system itself that was a little bit hard to work with. I've got this down to about a drip, or a drop I should say, every 20 to 25 seconds, which has turned out to be pretty good for this particular small nano tank. This is a 6.7 gallon, by the way. And once we dialed that in, we were still having some problems with the pH being a little bit out of whack. And I got a product from C02. I don't have the name in front of me. I wish I had remembered to do that, but we'll talk about that on the next update. But it's a great product for bringing the pH up to about 7.0 to 7.2, and it works really, really, really well. And once we did that and got everything balanced out, we've had absolutely no problems since then. All the water parameters in this tank are perfect. Absolutely nothing that I could tell you that is out of whack at all. The tannins from the spiderwood were a little bit colorful to the water, but of course betta fish like that, so it didn't particularly bother this fish that's in here right now. And but that's not the canary in the coal mine for something like this. So we're gonna go next week and pick out some fish that we're gonna research a little bit and see if they're gonna be compatible in this particular system. And once we do, we'll get an update for you and kind of give you some idea as to what we ended up with and how we got there, and give you some more updates on the parameters of the water. Basically, we've got about 4.5 inches of substrate in here. It's the fluval Amazonian. We also have the plants in here. I don't have all the names in front of me. I know there's quite a few carpeting plants in here, different varieties that most of you would know. I know that we do have some baby tears over on this side. I'd give you the scientific name, but I don't have them yet, or I don't have them in front of me, so I can't really tell you what the scientific names are. But most of you that are into aquascaping will know some of these plants just by looking at them and you know, seeing the plants up close and getting an idea of what we've got going on here. So that's really about it right now. I will give you another update on this tank in about another month, just to give you some idea as to where we're at. We are looking at and researching some different kinds of fish that we're going to put in here, and make sure that they're compatible with the CO2 at the levels that they are. I don't have a CO2 checker in here right now for levels, but I'm pretty good at dialing this stuff down and watching the behaviors of the fish. In this particular case, we have a betta fish in here, which like pH to be around 7.0, and that's about where we're at with everything we've done in here. But we're planning on taking this betta fish out and putting in some South American fish. I don't have any idea exactly what those will be right now, but we've been looking at several different kinds. And once we've established what we're going to put in here, again, this is a 6.7 gallon tank. Anything we put in here is going to be very small and be fish that remain very small. We may add some cherry shrimp. We may add some other kinds of invertebrates, as far as snails and things like that, but we're going to make sure that we research that very well so that we know exactly that everything is compatible. We've also looked at some algae eater fish. Got a couple of fish in mind that, you know, a good fish like that, typically you might see them a couple of times a week if you're lucky, and that's about it. But any small algae problems that we might run into, those guys will take care of that. There's no such thing as a tank that doesn't have some algae in it, and once you get those things under control and you've got good CO2 running and a healthy plant environment, typically once your plants are healthy and you've planted a lot of plants, which is something that anyone that does aquascaping will tell you, plant everything that you can afford at the time that you set up the tank, because going back and trying to plant other things later on is next to impossible to do. So make sure you write that down as a note to yourself, that whatever you can put into the tank when you're building it, as far as plant life, you know, put it absolutely as much as you can in there, and you won't regret that, because going back at it later on and trying to escape with plants after you have an already established tank, it just becomes that much more harder to do that. Anyways, this is George with The Art of Water, and I just wanted to give you an update on this particular tank. We'll come back at it here in about a month, take another look and kind of see where we're at, and probably at that point we'll probably have to do a little bit of trimming, as these plants, just in the last, I would say, week and a half to 2 weeks, they've really taken off, and the tank is looking really good. I'm really happy with it. So anyways, long story short, we got a beautiful tank here that's doing really well, and we're going to give you another update in about a month and a half here, once we get some fish in here, like I said, that are compatible with this particular system, and give you an update as to what we're doing, and see if this is something you want to take on. And we'll go step by step with it, because we do have footage of us planting this particular aquarium and putting hardscape in, putting substrate in, the planting and the whole thing. We do have footage of that we did do when we first set this thing up. So anyways, I'm going to let you go for now, but this is George with The Art of Water, and we'll talk again soon.